Tristan Tate, the second half of the most powerful brothers on this planet. After me and Andrew finished our podcast, Tristan turned up, and I wanted to use this opportunity to get a deep look into his life.
You evolve and grow into the man that I guess you see today.
I wanted to extract all the information and have Tristan share his knowledge and advice to all young men around the world.
No TV, don't play video games, limit your access to all sort of junk media, spend your time doing something productive.
And different kind of advice as well.
Me and the rest of the boys in here, the crew, want to know the secret.
I even wanted to go as far as putting Tristan on the spot.
Sell me a cigar.
No one's ever put me on the spot and told me to sell them anything.
Over the past year, you will know that Andrew and Tristan have been under deep surveillance in Romania, and I wanted to hear what Tristan had to say about it.
And this is illegal, by the way, so I'm confessing to a crime.
Throughout this 2-hour episode, I saw a side of Tristan that I hadn't seen online before up until now.
I am part of no movement apart from the Tate movement.
He kept it brutally honest and he kept it real.
Can't argue with results, and the way me and Andrew live has worked extremely well for us. It's worked extremely well for tens of thousands of young men who listen to me.
So sit back, light your cigars, and enjoy this episode of CEO Cast.
Tristan Tate, thank you very much for coming on the CEO Cast.
Glad to be here.
It was a pleasure speaking to your brother, and it's a pleasure to meet you today. I'm going to start off the podcast like this. Little Bird tells me that you're not that good at Uno.
Is Andrew been talking nonsense?
He's been talking the most.
You know the worst
Saying
thing?
you're the worst at it.
I'll tell you the worst thing. I win consistently every single game.
Oh,
in
he
the
says
house.
otherwise.
Well, there are witnesses within this very room who could back me up, and I consistently win every single game. But I don't like playing. So every time he says play Uno, I say no. He says you're scared. Then I win. But every time I don't want to play, he says it's because I'm no good. So you know when you're just so good at something, you're better than everybody else.
Yeah.
That's mine and Andrew's Uno relationship.
So would you say Andrew's been lying when he came on here saying that, you know, you lost all the time and
Yeah.
he's won every single bit?
And let me guess. He said he's never lost a game. When he was in jail, he fought for his freedom with Uno cards. Yeah?
Oh, it's like you were here in the podcast.
No,
That's exactly what
I
he said.
just know his lies
Yeah.
all too well. So no, I am the best at I think every single card game we play.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it is.
This is going to be very, very interesting to speak to you because I gave this analogy to the boys earlier on. You two are brothers, and the way I see you is you both stand for the same ideologies, same ethos, same
Yes.
business mindset. He's more the savage one, and you're the gentleman, right? Even when you're meeting you here right now, you're here in a nice 12 grand suit, as you said, pulled up with security. Obviously, he drove here in the Ferrari. So the analogy I gave was, he's like the Batman, but you're like Bruce Wayne. So it's like two same people, but we've got the daytime version, we've got the nighttime version.
Yeah, if it were up to me, we'd be less famous for sure. We probably have fewer cars and fewer items that show off and show the fact that we're extremely successful. I'm a bit more low key than Andrew, but I love showing off as much as the next man. I think Andrew's just, when you have somebody like that who's on such an extreme level, I seem more modest and more calm by comparison. But I think people who get to know me notice that there's not really too much difference.
Too much difference, yeah. So what are the differences? Because in a usual podcast, I normally ask about, one childhood upbringing.
Yep.
Obviously, whereas Andrew's mentioned a lot of it in the previous podcast I've done with him, I want to know where it differs from you because obviously you being brothers, I can imagine you having the same or similar sort of childhood as in upbringing.
Well,
in Luton.
exactly the same. In fact, if anyone's seen your previous podcast, there's literally no point in me answering the question. Everything Andrew says about his childhood, everything Andrew says about the way he was brought up, obviously our dad's influence, our mother's influence, it's all copy and paste. Exactly the same, which is why you end up with two such similar people. There was a time many years ago when I was more well-known than Andrew, because I was kind of famous in Romania, and that was it. And me and Andrew were both relatively unknown worldwide. And people would accuse Andrew of, oh, you're trying to be like your brother. Now he's the famous one. People accuse me, oh, you're trying to be like your brother. The truth is, we're just both extremely similar, and we both have the influence from my father, who we're versions of to lesser or greater extents. So it's not that one brother's trying to be like the other one. It's just if you take two men and you raise them in exactly the same environment, they live in the same house their entire lives, they hang out with the same people, they have the same hobbies, they read the same books, they do the same things, you're going to end up with two men who are very similar.
Yeah,
I think
very similar
that's it, yeah.
Yeah. So where does your love for, I suppose, entrepreneurship and business stem from? Because obviously you and Andrew both run this empire together, this incredible empire.
Yes.
Andrew stated on the podcast we just done now that is pretty much over $1 billion valuation at the moment.
Yes, absolutely.
So where does it start for you?
My first ever business I started when I was 5 years old. So this is a story that I had largely forgotten until I started making some money when I was 24, 25. And my mother reminded me of this chapter in my life. I was 5 years old, obviously completely broke. I come from a low-income family. and I was gifted by my father's sister for my 5th birthday a small bubblegum machine, little plastic toy. You put bubble gums in the top, you put the American 1-penny piece in it, you turn it, and the bubble gum comes
Oh, you talk about like the snowball shaped ones?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was a little plastic toy, very, very cheap. Probably cost my aunt no more than $1 or $2 at the time. And I realized very quickly that because the machine was not obviously very well made or properly engineered, the American 1-cent coin and the American 10-cent coin of roughly the same size pushed the mechanism down and made the gumball machine work. So I would walk around outside. I lived in this broke neighborhood, a bunch of really tiny houses and apartments cramped together. And all the local kids would come out and play. And I used to say to them, listen, look, if you want some bubblegum like me, this is the best bubblegum ever. Just go and get your mother's 10-cent coins from their purse, and then you can have the bubblegum. That's how the machine works.
This is America at the time,
Yeah,
right?
this was America. So even at that age, a lot of the other kids didn't understand how much money was worth. They didn't understand the difference between the coins, and they were giving me these 10-cent coins. I used to stack them up and pile them up. And it was during this time I learned my first ever lesson in sales, because a kid came to me. Justin was his name. He had a twin brother. Shout out to Justin and Jeremy from Goshen, Indiana, if you are anywhere in this world. And he came up to me with a stack of 25-cent pieces. It must have been about $4 or $5 in money. And he said, my mother doesn't have the coin you're looking for. She only has these.
Give me all of
So
that.
I kept a completely straight face. I said, listen, don't tell the other kids because you've got the wrong coin. But if you give me those, I'll open up the top and I'll give you 10 bubble gums. And he was like, oh, okay. And I got like $4 or $5 from him. And I think that's where my love of business and my love of money certainly started, because I used to stack up my little piles of coins and look at them. Every time I got bored, at least once a day, I'd stack them up, count them, and admire my little piles of coins like I was Scrooge McDuck on a brokey version. And my mother used to say to me, hey, Tristan, you've got like $25, $30 there. If you give me the coins, I'll give you the paper notes. I was like, no. Don't want the paper notes. I liked stacking up my coins. I liked looking at them.
It looks better as a kid.
It looked much, much better. And that was my first successful business I ever ran. That moved into...
Just a quick one on that. At 5 years old, did you understand that these coins that you were having, did you understand there was obviously money? Did you understand the value of it?
Yes, I understood. And I also knew that I could buy a bag this big of new bubble gums to refill the machine for just $1 at the dollar store. So that's 10 of those coins. So I had my profit and loss all worked out. I was ready. I was prepared. I knew the value of all these coins. A lot of the other kids didn't. And I don't know why I did it. I don't know why I was walking around the neighborhood with the bubblegum machine trying to hustle money out of the other kids. I do not know, because that wasn't very, let's say, ethical, I guess, because the other kids didn't know the value of money. But I was 5. What did I know? What did I care? You know, I was making a bunch of money. I think I bought myself a new bike from just that one bubblegum toy. So, you know, it was a very poor tool, so to speak, to start a business with. But at my age, it worked very well. And I guess
make do with what you got.
Yeah, and that was my first successful business. I guess I could continue until my second ever successful enterprise. I must have been 12 years old. I was living in the United Kingdom at the time, and I was in high school. And this is illegal, by the way, so I'm confessing to a crime. The only crime I've ever really committed. This is the only crime I'm guilty of. And when I was 12, 13 years old, obviously everyone was buying CDs, music CDs.